I forgot to ask 𝗘𝐻𝗁 if she's going to show any slides in between. Yeah, okay. I think we are now live on Facebook. It is streaming on Facebook now, and yes, I guess since it shows me here on Zoom that we are live on Facebook there, so I'm going to take the liberty of starting the program. And for those of you who have just joined us, yes, this is the same program. This is the Entrepreneur Genius Talks, and it is, what it is used to be is just that your host has changed, and I have very big boots to fill in because we don't have Suresh Menon here in today to do the hosting, and the privilege and pleasure is all mine. So for those of you who are expecting him, my apologies. For those of you who are expecting nothing, you'll get great stuff because we have one of the great guys over here, and I will just get to him in a bit. So first of all, since he's already on screen, let me welcome. His name is Devendra Naik. Devendra, welcome to the Genius Entrepreneur Network's Entrepreneur Genius Talks.
Thank you so much, Sandeep. Yeah. Really glad to be here.
Yeah, okay. So quite a few of you would have joined us here for the first time. So let me give you a brief background. Dave, please indulge me in a minute as I just give a little background about what this all is about. You see, a lot of people have networking programs and a lot of people have networking communities, but there is a difference as far as the Genius Entrepreneur Network is concerned. What happens here is we end up not doing networking just for the sake of networking. And this is a great concept. It's called, networking with intent. And so you know what you're doing, you know who you need to go after, you know exactly what you want from the network. You get into the network to find the right people who will leverage what you're doing. But that's the whole idea. You network, with open eyes. It's not random. It's not you give out business cards to each other and hope that somebody's going to give you business. So this is a fantastic idea which is put together by the founders, Deepa Thomas, and partners Suresh Menon and the other partner, Anil Thomas. And of course, we have a great team at the back end with 𝗘𝐻𝗁 and Mayur providing the wonderful infrastructure support for us to execute these programs. What happens is, this is a collection of all entrepreneurs who come together. They get to know who they are. And a lot of people may have understood and heard this saying that, if a fish were to be judged by its ability to climb a tree, it would go its entire life thinking it's useless. Not only would the others think the fish is useless, the fish herself would think she's useless. So I think that's really not fair. So this is a networking community which allows you to explore and find out who you are. Everybody is a genius. Every entrepreneur is a genius. The question is what type of genius you are. Okay, so you figure out who you are. And then there is a systematic methodology in which you are given a roadmap of how to connect with others who can really leverage what you're doing. And of course, Devendra is here, and he's also a particular type of genius. We will get to that in a bit. So hold your horses, but let me first introduce Devendra to everyone. So here we have Devendra Naik. He's the founder of a company which he calls No More Bo. And it sounds a little weird, but there's a reason behind it, and he will tell us what that is. So he's a very interesting chap. I asked him, what would you like to be called? And he turns around and says, I would like to be called the Chief Game Master. Wow. So that's a designation for you. He's an IT engineer, batch of 2004. Yeah, it sounds very magical and mystical. So he's an IT engineer from the batch of 2004. Went on to do a whole lot of things in IT and suddenly realized that he could be doing a lot more things that were fun, not only for him, but for everybody else too. So I don't want to steal his thunder. I want him to tell us a little bit about himself. So Dev, I think I've spoken enough for the whole session. That's just about as much as a monologue that you're going to get from me. Over to you. Please tell us and the audience, give us a brief about your background so that we get to know you a little better.
Sure. Thank you, Sandeep. And I think you have given me the perfect cue, because from for the last maybe 16 odd years, I was like that fish which was trying to climb trees and mountains and maybe jump into space. And now I think I've finally sort of dived into the river. Okay.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So having said that, let me tell you what those trees were. So I'm an engineer, like you mentioned, an IT engineer. And right out of college, along with 3 college mates, I started an IT company. I wrapped up in 2010 because what we were working on became obsolete. Okay, that's something that I've tried to learn from. After that, I tried to put that use of sort of building up, that company into my consulting practice. So I was doing a consulting practice for around 8 years, from 2010 to 2018. That firm is still growing strong, but I stepped out of it because, like you said, I was bored. How long can a fish try to keep jumping up into the tree, right? So that's why. And when I looked around me, I saw that, boredom is all around, so many places, and it literally sucks out energy, right? And that's why I said, I want to do something about this. And that's how I started No More Bo, which stands for No More Boredom. So that's what it's about. Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned a very interesting thing. You said that you started a company, and in 2010, so you were at it for about maybe 5-6 years,
Right.
And you found that what you were doing became no longer relevant and became obsolete, and you actually shut it down.
Right.
That's a very brave thing to do. There are not very many people who can actually do that, and everyone, and a lot of us hear these entrepreneurial, successful journeys and stories, which tell us you must follow your passion, you must keep at it, you must not give up, etc., etc., etc. And it just keeps going. And a lot of times, we end up spending a lot more time, effort, money, probably chasing the wrong thing. How did you go about making that decision? That's something very interesting, because our talks are all about learning entrepreneurial experience. And this is a great one, that you actually not only realized that probably, your team was, probably in the wrong business, or the business was not going the way it wanted to be. And you took a decision of actually shutting it down and moving on to something else. Please tell us, how did you come about that decision?
Well, a lot of factors going into that, because there were investors involved, other partners involved. And, it was based on SMS technology. I don't think I want to get into the details here,
Yeah.
but we could see the signs that, a different wave is coming. And, we are nowhere close to riding that wave. Okay. So it was a tough decision because, like you said, all those thoughts are in your mind, how you should persist, how you should stick to your guns. And of course, you're attached to something, especially when we started it, we were like just out of college.
Yeah, the emotional attachment that itself, forget about the economics, the emotions that entrepreneurs have when we, build something from scratch, and then you have to just give it up. Yeah, so it's very, very brave, So that's very good. Okay, so let's move on with the rest of the program. And what we need to do now is we go into a session which we call slow fire round. It's not rapid fire. We don't want the first answer that comes to your mind. We want a deliberate answer, something that, that you've thought through. This helps the rest of us pick up, a few key points and something that we find applicable to us, and a lot of entrepreneurs out there watching. So the first question seems like a very obvious one. First, I want you to tell us what exactly it is that No More Bo does before we go to the questions.
Right. So to put it very crisply, what No More Bo does is conduct team building and upskilling workshops for corporates using games as a medium.
Okay, when you say games, as in, those games on the phone type games, or what games?
So no phone games. Right now, of course, it's virtual, but they are games where you have to really, talk to someone in front of you. Those kind of games, strategy games, where you have to interact, shout maybe sometimes, and listen to others to make things go ahead in the game.
So this is not physical sports.
These are not physical sports. Of course, pre-COVID, we were doing games in a physical setting.
Okay. So these are like what? Board games, you get together?
Board games.
Ah, interesting.
Board games.
Okay, so you're trying to say that you're using the board gaming methodology to try and get corporates to upskill and learn more about themselves.
Absolutely.
Wow, that is a great concept. Okay, so for all you guys who thought that playing games and succeeding in probably Monopoly or something like that is of no use. Okay, think again, because here's a guy who's making a career out of it. Okay, so let's come to the slow fire round. You do a lot of stuff. You do a lot of interesting stuff. There may be a lot of people who try to do something similar. What's the one unique thing that you bring to the table to your customers?
Right. So, I'm in the business of team building and upskilling, and there are so many programs that are there. The feedback that I've gotten is, and I've also been a part of these programs, is that most of these programs, these trainings are very boring. And in today's world, when you ask a person to sit in one more webinar, they are like, oh my God.
Yeah, right? Screen fatigue, Zoom fatigue. You should probably come up with the name, Zoomity or something. I don't know. Somebody will coin that phrase soon. So, yeah, go ahead.
USP is, when people come into my game workshop, they don't want to talk. They don't want to switch on their videos, and no one is smiling. But at the end of the game, everyone is smiling. Everyone is on video, and I have to make people stop.
Yeah. Actually, games bring out the child in you. So that's a great concept. And you also, I guess, when we play these type of games, you drop all those corporate layers that we build in front of us. So you actually get to figure out the real you.
You use the perfect word. It brings out the child in you. And I've seen people become more open to learning and ready to engage, like children. Yeah.
Okay, that's a great way to undertake the skilling process. Okay, second question. As you've been in this, as you've taken this forward, you may have faced a lot of challenges, and I don't want to call them failures as such, but what has been, the learning experiences? And if I were to ask you to name, just let's say one thing which you really learned, which you thought that, hey, I did this, but I didn't do it well, and I need to go back and do it better, or that I have done it better. So what is the one thing that you learned from?
The biggest thing, so there is a list of failures is endless.
I don't like that word, but yeah, sure. We all have been through it. Just give us one. we only have 20 minutes. And for those, sorry to interrupt you, Dev. For those of you who are watching, if you have any questions, I forgot to mention this at the start, and Suresh does this very well. Please type your questions in the, in the Facebook comment box, chat box below. And we have a backend team led by Emma who will compile all of this and put this up. And we will ask those questions to Dev, and so you'll get to know. Yes, Dev, go ahead. Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah. So what I've realized, the biggest thing that I did in the first year is I went it alone, just trying to do everything by myself, because I really wanted full control, and I was doing something creative, and I wanted every piece to be in my control.
I'm in charge. I'm the man.
I'm in charge. Yeah. And I think that was just tiring and very, very slow. Yeah. So those are the two things.
Okay, so that's a big lesson, and we'll come to that in the latter half as we talk about it. So good, that's a big lesson to learn. Don't try to do everything yourself, because you're good in one type of thing. So you probably are better off doing that rather than spreading yourself thin, trying to do everything else and be the expert at everything else also. Okay, so our third question. Okay, so what has been your most significant, as you would call your most significant, I wouldn't say success, but something that you achieved? It need not be a commercial success. It may be just a challenge that you overcame, and something which is very, very significant for your business.
So, one of the things that I've tried to do is, in my consulting career, you give ideas and then the result takes a lot of time to come in, right? So I think an achievement is when, what you have done, you see the effect of that in the real world, right? So I was doing this program called Smash the Box. It was a group of around 10 people. We were talking with the game, we were trying to look at creative problem solving. Okay, that was the skill we were looking at. And at the end of that workshop, one lady entrepreneur, she says, Devendra, for the last few months, I've been struggling with a business problem. In these 45 minutes, I have gotten a breakthrough that is going to save me 1 lakh rupees every month.
Wow.
I was like, wow, this is something that I can see has made a difference.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that kind of feedback, I tell you, customer feedback, so that's something, I think it's human nature. We see something we don't like, we'll complain it in an instant,
Right.
But we see something we like, just don't say anything about it. I think, positive feedback is something that we really must do. Like, for instance, negative news spreads much faster than positive news. So I think,
Right.
yes, so when you hear something very good, it's awesome. Okay, last question in this round. What has been something which you have brought absolutely new to this? I mean, other than the whole concept itself, and that would be a really innovative concept itself.
Right.
But if I were to ask you, because you've been doing this for so long, what is the what you would call as your best innovation?
So my innovation is events in this form, virtual form for large teams. So, people are doing events like these, but interactive events are usually small, maybe 20 people, 30 people, 50 people. But a customer
Right.
wanted to bring all of their staff together for like an annual offsite, which usually they would do in an offline setting. But this year they
Sure.
wanted to do it in a virtual setting. But they didn't want it to be just passive, because most of the large events are passive listening. It may be entertainment, maybe music, comedy, or something like that, but they wanted active engagement. So I designed a virtual treasure hunt for them. Okay. First, before the event, because I really wanted it to go smooth, I did a pilot with a business school for 200 students. Okay. To try it out in a large group. So it went. And then finally, we were able to deliver it for my customer, where 479 people joined on one Zoom call.
Wow.
And all the teams completed the mission. So they all participated actively. And
Wow.
I think that now is a model that can be replicated, which I think is the biggest innovation.
This is great, because there are so many of these meetings which have so many of Zoom participants.
Right.
By the time you finish scrolling the screen, you probably see 25 at a time. So I mean, if you're talking of 400, I don't know how many times you got to keep moving the screen, and do you actually see it? So getting the people at the end of the screen, typically the people who joined in later, so getting people to participate who come in at the end later, and it's a big challenge. That's great. That's awesome. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so now here comes the part as far as the genius part is concerned. And you've already seen what kind of a genius this guy is. He not only shifted gears, moved companies, started a company, shut it down, moved to something else, and is doing something really, really crazy. Yes, the chief game master. Okay, he also is a genius. And I will request him. He's already done it. He's changed his name. I don't know how many of you noticed. He's changed his name to Dev Nomobo Dynamo. Okay, so for those who are wondering what this is, let me try and confuse you a little more and get you more intrigued. I changed my name to Steel. Okay, so here's what it is. There is a fantastic methodology, as I was telling you at the start, which helps you to understand the type of genius you are as an entrepreneur. Now, as Dave rightly said, and he realized that there are things that we should not probably try to do everything ourselves. There are things we need to recognize that we need to do. There is a great methodology, and I would request at this point, if Hema hasn't already put in the link, you can go online and get your own genius tested. You see, we all have strengths, but there is that one particular thing that we do probably better than other things. A genius test, and you can go online and you can test it. There's a link of mustard seed that Hema would probably have put by now. Go there. It's a very short test. It'll ask you a few questions. It's a very powerful test. It will help you figure out what type of genius you are. Okay. So you are a dynamo, or you are a steel, or you are a blaze, or you are a tempo. Okay. I'm not going to explain what these are. You're going to go online and you're going to figure this out. But first, you need to know who you are. So find out who you are, what it will do to help you as an entrepreneur. And as Dave will tell us, and we'll ask him now, that's the next question for you. So how did he figure out, okay, what type of genius he is, and how does it help to find the other complementary geniuses or the geniuses who could help him leverage what he's doing, right? So the link is there already in the comments, as Hema has told me. And, she sent me a WhatsApp message. That's how I know. Okay, so don't tell anyone. But anyway, so that's what it is. So the link is there. Go test yourself, find out who you are. And then there is a methodology of finding out who you need. Because, you're struggling alone. There's no need for it. Why are you wasting your time? You're the fish. You don't have to jump into the sky. Dave has found somebody else. He'll do that. So Dave, so tell us, how did you get about understanding what is your genius and how do you actually use it right now?
So I tried the genius test around 3 months ago, when I met Suresh Menon, and what he said makes sense. Earlier I felt it was, I can do everything. And he said it's not about putting people into boxes, but identifying strengths, So these 4 geniuses that you mentioned, a lot of us will have aspects of all of those. But what is your strength? If we can identify that, we can really use it to the maximum. So my genius energy is called Dynamo because I enjoy thinking of ideas, plans, and creating products around them, And by focusing on that, I've learned in the last 3 months to focus on that and not diffuse my energy. And that has helped me to create my game workshops across a wide range of customer requirements in a relatively short period of time by focusing that energy.
Right. So for the audience, this is something which is very, very important. What they've said, you need to focus on what you do best. Okay, because that's our USP that as entrepreneurs we bring to the to the program that we do, to the company that we run, to the products that we create. So if you're a creator, okay, somebody else is a person who can probably take it forward. Somebody else will figure out how to extrapolate it. Somebody else will figure out when to do and what. So the genius test will help you to get the who, the why, the what, the when, the how all together. So this is what our Genius Entrepreneur Network also does. And this is what is actually meant by networking with intent. You know who you are, you know what you can do best, and you also know that your business needs a few other things. Once you're able to figure out what are those other things, what is it that you do, and what is it, you go finding them in a systematic manner. So you're not just randomly networking with everybody in your phone book, and that's what you do. So tell me one thing. How, in terms of what you do, Dave, it is not just a question about people getting business for you. A lot of people think that networking, once I know who I am and I know this networking group, I'll just pass around my business card or WhatsApp everyone or spam them an email, and I hope somebody comes up. So how could you give us an example of how you actually went about looking for the other complementary geniuses, and if you found anyone or anything, how did that? If you just give us a little example, the audience will probably be able to get it better.
Absolutely. So like I said, I started off trying to do things alone. No, of course, I was, like you said, trying to network, trying to collaborate. But with the genius test with Suresh, I saw that there could be a structure which can keep business flowing. So what I've started doing is reaching out to individuals and businesses who can really spread the word. They may not be my customers, but they can really reach out to people. So earlier, when I used to do open sessions of my games,
okay,
I would just call everybody. Okay. Right now, when I do those open sessions, I know that these people, people from training organizations, people from platforms which aggregate these services for the HR department of companies. These are the people who can really sort of, if they experience, then they can take my message out to a much, much larger audience, which I may not be able to reach directly. So that has come out of this genius identification,
Super. Okay. So thanks for giving that very clear explanation. And this is something which I believe, all of us can do. The one thing that really works in your favor is, you have a network. You have a network of people. You have a network of geniuses. You have a network of entrepreneurs. You have a network of business owners. You have a network of entrepreneurs. You have a network of business owners. 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 You have a network You see, you know, the funny thing in this, because Suresh Menon introduced me also to the Genius test, and you know, we did that, and that's when I realized that, you know, I am really good at getting things done. You know, it's the how. You know, the Steel Genius, you know, makes things happen. You know, so it's the how. So I a lot of times I found that when people would come with a complex problem and say, you know, how I would be able to break it down. And then I realized that, you know, this is the strength that I have. You know, so if you have a complex problem, you know, you're not able to figure out how to do it, you probably bring it to me. I can break it down, tell you how to do it. Now, obviously, you know, people who are aware of their geniuses, they can't go around telling people, what genius are you? What genius are you? Because the other people may not have done their genius test. Okay. And they probably, you know, they probably don't know. So what the genius test, as I understand it, also allows you to do is recognize the type and the characteristics of those type of people. So sometimes, you know, you come across a person who is, you know, really well connected to people, and you recognize, okay, you know, that's the Blaze genius. That's the typical characteristic. Now, whether that person herself or himself does not know that, okay, I have to do a test and find out I'm a Blaze. Okay, but the manner in which they present themselves, since now you are aware of there is something known as a genius test, you could probably figure out that that's the Blaze I want. So I think from that perspective, this is something which has helped all of us entrepreneurs, and would seriously recommend, you know, as Dev has told us his story and how it has made a difference to him. But Dev, hats off to you. I still can't get over the fact that, you know, that you actually shut your business, and, you know, it's a big decision. You know, that's still playing on my mind. But yes, that's awesome, and that's what true genius is. That's also what true entrepreneur is. You know, it's not just you keep chasing and chasing. Yes, you chase the right thing. So, but for you to figure out what the right thing is, you need to know. You need to know yourself, just like you think you know your market. You also need to know yourself. So, Dev, it's been great speaking with you on this. Before we close, I don't think we've received any questions as of now. That's okay. You can still ask your questions, and, you know, we will come back and read it in the comments, and we will answer it. And Dave, you know, if there is a specific question that comes up for you, you know, I would request you to answer that. Before we announce the next program and before we close, I want to ask Dave. Dave, as an entrepreneur, you've had a pretty experienced journey. What do you see as the next big, you know, milestone? Not challenge, next big milestone that you would like to cross? You know, for you say, okay, you've done this, you've introduced this, you've done this, you've done a lot of stuff, done a lot of great stuff. What's the next big milestone for you personally that you would want to cross?
Actually, I have one, you know, purpose that I've decided for my business. It's not necessarily the next milestone.
Okay, go ahead.
I've shared it with very few people because it's.
Oh, okay, you're live on Facebook. That's it. No more secrets.
This is a very recent revelation to me.
Okay, go ahead.
So what I have taken up is, I want to be the trainer for the Indian cricket team.
Oh, seriously? Okay. Wow, seriously. I hope somebody is watching. Okay. Yeah.
So that's what, I don't know how I'm going to go there, but that's what is there in front of me.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's great. Okay, all the best to you, Dave. And you know, you just, you know, told the universe what you want, and you put it out there, bang on Facebook for everyone else to watch. There are, you know, 1 billion+ people on Facebook. I hope everyone's watching, but, you know, I know they're not. Okay, but anyway, so for all of it, all the best to you, Dave. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. Thank you for explaining how the Genius Flow worked for you. And for the rest of you audience who are here, I would sincerely request you to take that test. Okay, if nothing else, you will learn a new methodology and a new way of looking at your own business. Whether you implement it or not, you will be wiser with the experience. And with that, I think let me just announce before we go, our next Genius Entrepreneur Talk session will be on the 22nd of this month. Okay, so 22nd of December, mark your date. It's the same time. We'll be here, and I would request you all to be there. Please leave a comment if you've enjoyed the program, and if you gained something from it. Please share that with us. Please share good news. We circulate enough of bad news, so we are desperate to have a lot of good news. Please share your good news with us. And with that, I once again thank Dave for sharing his story with us. Dave, thank you very much. Awesome. All the best to you. And I hope somebody from the Indian cricket team is, was listening, or even if it's an IPL team that's out there, somebody who's managing the team, let's start with something, even if it's a Ranji team, okay, let's go for that, let's start somewhere.
Yeah,
And we'll get to the Indian cricket team. Thank you very much, Dev. Thank you everyone for joining us. I think Dev, stay online, we'll just end the Facebook live stream.
Yes, definitely.